In this lesson, we're going to be looking at what an element is and the properties of an element. So we created a basic HTML template. So once again, open up the editor and create that template. So including the HTML opening and closing tags, the head opening and closing, include a title, and then in addition, include the body content. And for this body, we're going to create a paragraph. So we're going to wrap a paragraph tag around the main content of the body. And we'll take a closer look at what gets displayed. So immediately when we refresh the page, the main content moved down and it got a little bit of content structure. And this is all coming from the paragraph tag. So it's got a starting and a closing tag. So it's got start tag, end tag, and then what's in the middle is what's called the content. So this is content and starting and closing tags. And then the whole thing all together, this is what's known as an element within the structure. There's also attributes that can be added into elements. And we are going to be looking at some of the elements that are going to contain attributes, various classes that we can have for an element. This is the attribute name, and this is the value of the attribute. And what attributes do is they allow us to provide more of information for the element that is wrapping around the content. And when you do look at most typical web pages, and I'm just going to do the inspect view source code, you can see there's quite a few elements that will have attributes, various attributes that are contained within there. So the classes allow us to apply styling. Some elements, such as the hyperlinks, they do have an href, which is a required attribute for that element, and we are going to be looking at this in more detail as we go through the upcoming lessons. But for now, it's important to understand that some elements do require these attributes, and you can have a number of attributes per element. Also, when you look at buttons, so again, different types. Also, accessibility attributes that apply accessibility features that are read by screen readers, such as area label within the source code. And I can make this bigger. Inputs, they have a number of attributes that are being added in. You're not actually limited to the number of attributes. You could add as many as are needed. And then these are all elements. So even the entire parent element, starting and closing, this is one element. And an element can have additional elements that are contained within inside of that main parent element. These are the children of the parent element. There's also what's known as self-closing tags. So these are tags that don't have an opening and closing, and they provide some type of structure for the web page. We've got ones like the BR, which produces a line break, and essentially this is a carriage return. It provides additional formatting for the content as it's being laid out. So take a closer look at. So opening up, we've got our main content, and we'll just write some content and add in a line break. Also, there's a horizontal rule. Line breaks are different than paragraphs, as the paragraph is going to be adding in margins as opposed to the line breaks, which are just adding in the next line. And you can have line breaks that are contained within paragraphs, so you can add that additional structure for those elements. So let's take a closer look at what we've got now in the output coming from the browser. And looking at the output, so this attribute of class foo, because we haven't applied any styling, it's not really doing anything yet to the content. There's also a style attribute, which allows us to apply styling directly for the element. And I'm going to just use one that's called color red. So this will turn the content red. So this allows us to apply styling directly within the element. There's also hello world. And then we've got a line break, and notice that it does differentiate between the paragraphs because this is just providing that carriage return. The HR provides the horizontal rule, so that goes all the way across the page. And then we've got a couple more paragraphs. Notice the margins around those paragraphs. And then down here, we've got a paragraph with a line break that's contained within the middle. So now it's up to you. Go ahead and open up the editor, create a paragraph, and also create a line break and a horizontal rule. And you can also do combinations of them. So you can have the paragraph as the wrapper and have a line break and a horizontal rule contained within them. And there is one important thing to note here, that you can't have a paragraph nested within another paragraph. So that's considered incorrect styling, because each paragraph is its own block of content. Paragraphs cannot be nested within other paragraphs, even though if you do put the code, it will work. Technically, this is incorrect to do. So keep that in mind, that you don't want to be nesting paragraphs within other paragraphs. And there are other elements that provide structure that we're going to be looking at later on within the lessons of this course that can be nested within others of the same tag. So try out paragraphs, line breaks, and horizontal rule within the editor and see what happens within your HTML page.